welcome to the last official session of the day. Melissa is a almost graduated student of the New Media Studies program at the School of the Arts Institute of Chicago. And it's her first K-Fest with us, and we're thrilled to have her speaking on custom mods for the Oregon Trail program.
And all of these menu options have changed as well. Try taking a journey by covered lake across 2,000 miles of plains, rivers, and mountains. Yeah, might take a while to figure out.
I want to play this one.
Yeah,
Not the tech.
Yeah,
Oh, of
yeah.
course.
Yeah.
Wait, after you were finished with this, it must have been hard to tell the plain text from the garbage.
Yeah.
That's how she knew where to start.
So yeah, like all of this has been changed. This took me several months to do. Yeah, I switched it up.
Okay.
So then, I always choose a banker because you get the most money. You don't die right away. Beth, yeah. Best 2048. It used to say 1848.
What's that? Yes, so you told myself like Kansas Fest. What are you trying to call it out? Call me. That's sweet. I love that you didn't text it.
What's that?
I love that you didn't text it.
How can you text it? It's awesome.
Yeah, that's all I know how to do, so it's
Well, that's the awesome part of it. It's what you knew how to do, and you did it. It's the tool that you had.
Did you substitute the same character, or did you just write what you felt in a particular line?
I just wrote what I felt like writing. It got more complex as I got more into typing into the game. Like towards the second one, it got more complex.
So for something like food, which is a different number of characters, you can put a space at the end.
Yeah, I did.
You're just messing with it to be messing with it?
Yeah.
Essentially. I'm not nearly elite enough to play this game.
I've been staring at it for months, so it's pretty easy to read it now.
This might be the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Totally solves all the typos.
That's very true.
You definitely need to have a narrated YouTube of this.
What's that?
You definitely need to have a narrated YouTube playthrough of this.
Yeah.
I would love to hear a text-to-speech synthesizer try and handle it.
Not me. Now look away.
So that press space to continue, you gotta translate it. But there's another one where it hadn't been translated.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out how to translate that one. It didn't show up in the file, so.
If it's hidden, it's hidden.
What's that?
If it's hidden, it's hidden. And the text edit is.
Yeah, I couldn't find it in there.
Which?
This press space bar to continue.
Oh, that might be actually an actual picture file or something.
Well, what I was wondering is, because Oregon Trail is Applesoft, right? Is it?
I don't
So,
I don't know. But this you were hacking the disk image though, right?
right. No, I understand that, but would the ASCII have been written on there as low ASCII or high ASCII? Or something like anyway, whatever.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't know, it could be something like that, because text edit wouldn't show high ASCII.
Right.
So if someone knows how to change it, I'd be interested in knowing.
Well, there was.
Yeah, sometimes it happens, sometimes it
The
didn't.
one that came up in the little graphical box.
That might have been a graphic, yeah.
I actually have a utility that, if you want to just work with the whole disk image rather than do it inside the virtual app too, to mod it, that will make it much easier than doing it text edit.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to, anyway, you might find it that way.
It's done.
And we'd like you to do it again from scratch.
True.
I suppose she could modify her.
Now, can you put in some funny pictures of cats?
I want to, I mean,
guess that-
but I don't know how. So
Okay, well you're in the right place to learn
I
this.
think I am. But of course, I was.
That'll be version 2.0.
Yeah.
So instead of trading and buying auction, you can buy cats.
Amazing. Like, this is a lot of text that you modified.
Oh, yeah.
This looks like it took a long time.
It did. 3 months, I think.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Not good.
2 oxen. Oh no, applesauce strings are low ASCII.
Huh?
Sorry.
So that's why it was edited.
No, they're right. It's editable because applesauce strings are low ASCII. The high ASCII is opcodes.
So maybe it's actually an assembly routine that was rendering that.
Possibly, yeah.
They only had 4 options.
Jody ground wall.
Well, at least the food will last.
That's a town. It's a house with a flag.
And pepperoni and cheese wasn't part of the file when I first found it, so.
What was that?
Pepperoni and cheese was in the file when I found
Really?
it. Yeah.
Like that?
Yeah.
So you thought that should just be left. That's good
Yeah,
enough.
no, I
ASCII.
didn't want to touch that. That was
Favorite.
Yeah, all of this stuff inside of here is changed as well.
Flat River Valley.
Did you have a lead speak translator that you ran through, or did you hand?
I
did
can
you
did
match up
every
everything?
character, yeah, 'cause if you had too little or more characters, it would break
Yep.
and work.
So you really have to optimize.
Yeah, I had to pay attention to what I was doing.
After she learned that it was important.
Oh, in Nebraska.
It's a passage.
That was Nebraska territory.
If any one of us did it, we would have done it a totally different way.
That's right. That's what's great about it.
And that, exactly.
I would have spent 3 months writing a tool to pull out the strings. And I would have done
Yeah, I'm with you.
Huh?
All right, so it's like we're doing it for me.
Yes, exactly.
5 years later.
Yeah.
I just want to add this one. It takes longer to rate the utility.
All the way to the end.
Every stream.
Huh?
I don't know if you guys want me to continue playing or
Would you like to continue playing?
I can.
So
For you in tech, you get a choice of roots.
What's that?
Well, maybe if you could tell us a little bit more about this. Either do you have further plans for this project? Are there other Apple II related projects that you're thinking about doing? Sort of like what is, now that you've done this, sort of like what you're thinking in terms of next steps, you know, and or would you want to learn about the Apple II, anything along those lines?
I also created, I mean, this project I'm going to consider done just because, you know.
Because it's done.
Yeah, it's done.
It's done.
And, but I also created a series of glitch games where I did a similar thing where I opened up the disk image and text edit and found certain spots where I could take out characters and glitch the game and yet have the game still be playable.
Cool.
Yeah.
What, like by deleting characters?
Yeah, by deleting characters.
That's nuts. I can't
Yeah,
even believe
and
that.
what you get is just like this crazy, you know, pixelated mess happening, and it's just absolutely beautiful. But and it's really hard to figure out what you're doing in the game, but it's awesome.
1 in 143,000. Seems like rough odds to find a character on screen. That's good.
So crazily destructive.
But then I'm also interested in learning how to program on Apple II.
Just keep using text edit. You're doing great.
Well, see, I want to learn just because, you know, the information is right in front of me. So I do want to continue hacking more games and, you know, my way and then also, you know, in different ways, just seeing what I can do. Yeah.
You did this for school, right?
I did. This was a class project.
Now I have two questions. One, what was the class, and two, what was the grade?
It was New Media 01, and the grade was a credit. I go to a credit, no credit school, so yeah.
Credit.
The other thing you did can't be shown on the screen now.
What's that?
The other thing you just mentioned.
The glitches?
Oh, the glitching. I don't have the actual discs with me, but I have them on my computer. I can show you that.
Stavros can help you get that over to your machine.
What's
Oh,
that?
with the,
ADP Pro.
His earlier presentation.
Show on your laptop.
Yeah, I don't have like actually. Yeah, I don't have the discs that I created for those games with me, but I can show them on it.
So you edited them in text edit, and then you would send them back to floppy disks?
Well, I found the games online and downloaded them.
Yeah.
And then hacked them, and then I sent them to floppy disks.
Gotcha. Using ADT or some other?
Yeah,
She can make her own discs. I'm sorry.
Make your own. Your Stavros.
Yeah, you don't need my presentation.
Even thought for a second, just remove it from this image like that. Anything we say. Yeah. Like anything be functional at all.
The odds of hitting something that's visual is the same.
Yeah, right, exactly, right, that too, just like with all the spikes on it.
I would think that if you're moving somewhere, you have to go to your credits.
So apparently I'm really good at glitch games. Like if you play the one I'm working on now, the second time through, you can press your brakes, it's very similar. At least that's my plan.
So this is what the data would look like after a nuclear strike. This is the way that the system would run after a nuclear strike.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
And all like these files are available on my website if you don't
Oh, yeah?
yourself.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Melissaberry.net.
was this a single character change to do this?
It's, you know, some characters throughout the file. And then I would type in like the word glitch just to be funny. If you look through the files, you can.
And was it a lot of trial and error trying to figure out what
definitely
things
was,
caused, and like, can you say, oh, I mean, was there a method, like when you hit something, you're like, okay, this one, gotta remember this one?
Yeah. Yeah, like as soon as I figured it out, I made sure to like write down what part of the file, what happened, where it was, and then,
coarse tool like text editor. Like if you were working more within the structures of how the machine operates, then it would almost be too intentional. It takes out the random factor.
You could do this on purpose.
Well, it's like,
No, that's right.
we look at this and we think, my God, how the odds of it not working are significantly higher than just visually glitching.
Right. No, that's right.
No, meeting is a separate thing. I created that in Photoshop. Like, it was inspired by 8-bit programs. But I was inspired by the lines and
I always enjoy when I run into somebody that may very well be crazier than I am.
Sure.
I think you're selling yourself short there, Lauren.
That's because they're so rare.
Well, some of you have achieved parity, but I'm not.
Do you see Apple II as continuing to be a part of your artwork, or do you see that going in different directions and Apple II being a hobby thing? Or
I definitely see the Apple II, like more Apple II in my art, just because this is like finally I have the chance to do stuff with it. I mean, it's like I was before, so it's just, yeah, pretty much. I mean, I didn't have, I didn't know what music was in elementary school, but I always wanted to experiment with it. So now it's like my chance, so I just take advantage of that. It's gonna be like this for a while.
can it come back to Canvas Fest?
I think so, yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah, saying you want to program around us is not really a good idea. There's 4 or 5 of us that would be glad to talk to you about it.
Just 4 or 5.
Okay, 4 or 5 of us that would talk about programming.
You know, as a programmer, I was taught to avoid this exempt situation at all costs.
Yeah.
I think it really would be something that stems from an artistic side of that.
Yeah.
It's like a purely programmer science that you just don't do this, right?
It's
So-
intentional corruption of data.
Right.
Yeah.
Which of it? So I'm saying I appreciate it, but it's hard for some of us to even.
It's against the religion.
Essentially. I want to fix it. I'm getting nervous over here.
I see bugs.
You're fine.
I'll speak to people that I say, like your peers in school or other people on the internet that totally unrelated to Apple II as a culture.
The people that I've shown at school have like also appreciate glitches, so they've always like it's always been really accepting. I don't really know, but like other people.
Well, I mean, like the orchestra.
Oh,
Is there a response back to that?
people love it. Yeah, they think it's hilarious. Yeah, I haven't really shown it outside of like my classmates.
Yeah, but I mean, people come across something like that. I have reached out to
Nobody
you and
has ever
been
said
like,
anything to me like saying, "Oh, hey, this is cool." Yeah.
because it's a really well-known game. It has a lot of work connected to Apple II, so it's really recognizable. I think maxing this out is sort of considered like executive editing is kind of what I've been looked at for. That's really just been a paradigm shift in society where now it's work into your original work based on something else with really easy matchups.
Yeah, it is a
So
matchup.
I just see this as actually something that's more invigorating to maybe outside culture than what I've been working on a serious game or whatever, and it'll probably not get much exposure outside of this first just because it's the Oregon Trail and it's it ties in more pop culture, I guess you could say.
Right.
I
This
see
is
it
a
as being
possibility
more
to be.
impactful than something that a lot of other people probably spend years learning how to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I'm curious if you've heard much from other people.
No.
Hasn't hit the right
Yeah,
spot.
Yeah, we gotta get Jimmy Fallon to tweet it.
Well,
I told,
Yeah.
I told my girlfriend about this.
Yeah, maybe just people don't know about it.
She was interested. because
Yeah,
she-
mine too.
She played it in elementary school and so, she thought it was
you learning programming? I used to hold the title of Dean of the Apple II University. Thinking maybe I should, dust off the title and get something going again. Well, Sheffy's starting the ball on A2 Central there with his programming
Yeah,
series, so we need more stuff like that. Especially if Jeff's vision of a new version of No Mini there is going to actually come to fruition.
Well, when I talked about emulators in the presentation yesterday, this is what I was leaning towards with the addition of scripting engines. So you'll see a lot of other emulators have that, and so what I would envision for something like this would be a tool that sits in your emulator and can find all the strings and present those to you, and you would just write different little plug-in scripts, probably specific to the software that they're meant to affect, so you can change out tile maps and things like that, because a lot of people don't want to get as nitty-gritty as I would if they had what the original program before they had this kind of thing, their own tile editor, which just never got out beyond the company.
be like Oregon Trail boss, should have done boss.
So I mean, it
Yeah,
takes
you
the
can write
hack out of the
something.
binary
Yeah.
and gives it
It's like-
people as a tool they can add on.
Absolutely.
It's like Load Runner with its level editor, people could make their own
Right.
sense.
But for things like that that blew up for Nintendo emulators, that
Right.
it doesn't affect the binary itself.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
It's
Right,
like
right,
old
right.
Game Genie, right, where you plug it in between and it allows you to say, okay, well, I just want to add more lives and things out. This would be more for something like the Oregon Trail, basically, the randomness, I think.
Part of the joy of this is using the hardest tool in the world. I mean, the only way to go out and do this better would be to go at it with a magnet directly.
Grab it in.
But would you ever have thought of going through a game like that and changing all of the text?
Hell no, my job was to try and make it work.
Whereas, like, when I was a kid, like, I didn't even play the games. I just tried to hack them. That was all I did. I mean, I wanted infinite lives or whatever. I wasn't trying to create art necessarily, but it was taking something that existed and then somehow making it mine, however trivial.
To me, the fun game was bringing the protection.
Oh well, sure. That's the best game in the world. That's called jailbreak.
Because you have a live opponent.
Yes, exactly.
He wrote messages to you inside the game.
That's right. Well, now you have that with like the iPhone jailbreakers. Same spirit.
And if you were to try looking at the text of some of these games, some other games, you would find messages that no one ever saw when they played the game. You're just like, what are you doing? Looking around in here.
System Software Factory. Did you see any of that? The little programmer messages buried in the.
Not many of the stuff that I've seen. There's still now.
Just find that thing with cheese and
Oh, the pepperoni cheese.
That's good.
Remind me later, and I'll send you a tool that will allow you to see the other half of the character set. Will allow you to find a lot more letters than you're probably seeing.
Okay.
While you're in town, you should run up to the Oregon Trail office, show them what you know.
They'd be like, "Lol, what?"
I found this in the future. I'm bringing it back to you.
Yeah.
This is going to happen in 2048. Be prepared.
I am the show.
You must find Connor.
What's your next big project?
I'm not sure yet. Looking for inspiration. Not all of it. I do a lot of Fiverr and meetings using visual, and I created some meetings inspired by Apple II.
Do you have some pictures you could show us?
Yeah, I have one photo.
Bless you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. Freaking boy. What are the materials there?
It's thread. It's
It's just
weaving.
woven, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact dimensions, but let's see. This took probably 3 hours or so. I created another meeting using the text that you see there that was 5 foot long. That took about like 8 hours.
How big is that?
I don't know exact dimensions, something like this.
And did
Did that on
On a Jacquard phone. It's a computerized.
and so like is the text like white thread or is that like bleached on or how?
It's white thread. Yeah, the colors are the webs that I threw, and the black is the warp.
I can't do that.
It's actually hard, you know, it's got interestingness to it.
That's right. If this was hanging on your door, you would win the door prize.
Just put a picture and hang it on your door.
Oh, there's always next.
Just gonna borrow the projector.
Yeah, I'll bring my 5 foot weaving.
Do we accept weavings as Hackfest entries?
You have to bring the loop too.
What if they're, well, thread?
What about
What
intentional
if she were to
destruction
cut
of
out a piece and
Want
sew
it.
in another word, you know, change the H line to B line or something? Would that be considered hacking?
Well, that would be an interesting way of modifying programs.
So a whole new meaning to cut and paste.
Reversing variables or changing that, you can do that pretty easily and see what happens. That will let you gain in different ways.
Don't let her find the AppleSoft ROMs and change keywords. I can see AppleSoft and LeadSpeak now.
Well, there already is a LOL code. You could interpret LOL code for the Apple II.
I think
Or
Beagles
you-
Brothers had a
Beagle
program that
Basic.
let you change the keywords in AppleSoft.
The basic DOS box.
Oh yeah, go edit the AppleSoft ROM and change the keywords to LeadSpeak. You can do that next to it.
Kind of. Because the way the text table is, the way the total table is, the very last character of each keyword is in a high ASCII versus low.
Right, you have to work in an editor that shows you high ASCII.
Right, and you have to make sure that it's stable.
Yes.
So that probably something like.
Actually, I have an Apple II font that has all the high characters. If you text edited it with that, it all works.
Oh, that would work.
Yeah, but how would you insert a high bit character?
Oh, that will, right, you would not be able to do that, things would break.
If the font like had an indentation or something.
Yes, you could do it with like with a different tool.
I'm sorry for misdirecting them all. Do
Oh, okay.
you have any other pictures of your work?
No, I don't. It's the only picture I have of my meeting right now. But I will be posting them soon.
We gotta get her on the touchpad. On Tony's
I always
touchpad.
thought that was.
Hmm.